Hi, I'm Kurt Lovell from Lovell's Nursery. Today I'd like to take a few moments and talk about some smaller trees that you can incorporate into your landscape. If you have a small yard or if you just have an area that you don't want anything that gets too overly big, some of these trees will make a good choice for that, for that application. So some of these trees flower. A lot of the flowering trees don't get very big. Some of them are just grown for their foliage color. Some of them you get a combination of both, foliage color and flowers. So first, I'll just mention a couple of the Japanese maples. This red leaf variety has been around for a long time. It's called bloodgood Japanese maple. Bloodgoods are slow growing, will reach a height of about 15 to 20 feet. So it's an excellent little accent tree where you don't want something that's going to get too overly large. There's many different varieties of Japanese maples. Another upright variety that's very slow growing, this particular one is called butterfly. It's a variegated leaf variety. It has green leaves with a little bit of white and pink on the edges. Makes a nice accent or specimen tree for like along a walkway or patio area. This particular tree is a weeping Japanese cherry. This variety is called Snow Fountain. It has a double white flower on it early in the spring. This particular weeping cherry keeps a very strict weeping shape to it. It's fairly slow growing and very seldom gets more than 12 to 15 feet. Some of your other Japanese weeping cherries get fairly large, so you want to make sure that if you want something small, you get the correct variety. But this one, Snow Fountain, like I said, stays fairly small. Another good small ornamental tree is the Vesuvius flowering plum. This tree gets a little pale pink flower very early in the spring. It's one of the first trees to bloom. It has the deep reddish purple foliage. And here again, this tree will only get to about 20 feet, has a nice round shape to it, makes a nice accent tree with the foliage color and the early spring flowers. Another tree, a flowering tree that's been around for a long time, is the flowering crabapple. Years and years ago, flowering crabapples, the apples tended to get fairly good size and they were kind of messy when they dropped off. But most of these newer varieties have a pea-sized apple or fruit on it. They're persistent in that they remain on the tree. They don't fall off and make a mess, and birds tend to gobble them up into the fall. So it's a good tree. Crab apples are beautiful when they bloom. They're one of the prettiest flowering trees in the spring. But here again, this tree will only get to about 20, 25 feet or so. It's a nice flowering tree for a yard. This tree has become very popular in the last few years. This is a Japanese tree lilac. It's actually in the lilac family. It's also called ivory silk tree. But this tree blooms right about the end of May, end of June, and you can see it's in flower now. It has a typical lilac flower and fragrance. We'll get up to about 25 feet. So if you're looking for a flowering tree that blooms a little later in the season, this would be a good choice. I want to mention dogwoods. Of course, the native dogwood is a slow-growing ornamental tree that we use a lot in the landscape. However, the last several years, they've run into some problems with some diseases, which make them a little more difficult to grow. However, the Kusa dogwood or the oriental dogwood is an excellent tree now. In fact, we use it a lot in the landscape. It's later blooming than the native American dogwood. You can see this variety here called Scarlet Fire, excuse me, still in full bloom, and we're in the 1st of June right now. So this tree will get up to about 20, 25 feet, very slow growing, very long bloom period, up to 3 to 4 weeks, late spring into June, and it comes in different shades of pink and white. This is a white flowering variety here that's already finished for the season. This is a variegated variety, Kusa dogwood. Gets a white flower, very, very slow growing. This variety does like a little bit of shade or afternoon shade. Very seldom exceeds 10 to 12 feet, though it's a very short accent tree. Redbud, eastern redbud is a native tree. You see it blooming along roadsides in this area of the country. This particular variety is called forest pansy. It has the purple leaf foliage on it. Gets the same flowers, the green leaf variety. However, it has a little more interest with this purple foliage. Red buds are very fast growing, but they only get up to about 25 feet or so. So it's a good ornamental tree where you don't have a lot of room and you want something that flowers. Another tree worth mentioning is mimosa. Mimosa gets a fuzzy pink flower on it. This particular variety is called summer chocolate. It has a little dark tinge of color to the leaf foliage. A couple of shrubs I wanted to mention because oftentimes these are grown as small trees, although technically they're not, but crepe myrtles, most people are familiar with crepe myrtles. Crepe myrtles are large shrubs. They're often grown as trees. This particular variety is called ebony and ivory. It's a very dark leaf variety, gets a white flower on it. And a lot of people, as they grow crepe myrtles, will prune off the lower branches to expose the trunk so they look like a small multi-trunk tree. This is a larger variety here, again with the multiple trunks on it. So most crepe myrtles get anywhere from 10 to 20 feet. So there again, they can be used in an area where you would want some height, but not necessarily something that's going to get huge. Another shrub that grows into a small tree is the smoke tree, or smoke bush as it's called. This is again a purple leaf variety. It's just starting to put out these clusters of fuzzy purple flowers that look almost like the tree's covered with smoke when it's in full bloom, hence the name smoke tree or smoke bush. And again, people will prune off the lower branches and leaves to expose the trunk to make it look like a small tree. Also want to mention the lace leaf or cut leaf Japanese maple. This is a very dwarf form. Most people are familiar with the red or purple leaf varieties. This is a green one called green hornet. But most of these varieties are very slow growing. They tend to get broad over a period of years and not much height. You're probably looking at 10 feet tall and about 30 to 40 years on these. These are used oftentimes as a specimen plant or even as a foundation plant. So anyway, these are some good choices if you're looking for a small tree in your landscape. If you're not sure what will work for you, come out and see one of the nursery professionals at Lovell's Nursery. La, la, la.